Electronic Arts is often branded as one of the worst and most hated companies in the United States. However, EA doesn't seem to care much about it, as their business practices earn them billions. While the public can be unfair to large and successful companies, gamers have many reasons to speak against EA. Today we'll list their worst offenses in our top 5 reasons why Electronic Arts is so hated. Game companies are not happy about us reselling games, and that's the primary reason why they are now all about digital sales. Always trying to maximize profits, EA was one of the first companies to implement the notorious online pass in its products, starting in 2010. In practice, this meant that you would receive a code to enable online play when you bought their games. However, if you purchased a second-hand copy, you would need to pay $10 for multiplayer. EA continued this unpopular practice for 3 more years before other companies stopped using it too. So while Ubisoft and even Sony were also promoting the system, EA had it the worst as they've already had a negative reputation. Large companies buy smaller ones, and while we may not like it, that's pure capitalism. Electronic Arts started to acquire other studios back in 1987, but many haven't survived for long. The problem was always the same, as EA would be pushing them to produce numerous sequels in a short time. That resulted in poor games that sold miserably, so the company had an excuse to shut down studios. The list of companies that EA killed is painfully long and includes Bullfrog, Origin Systems, Maxis, Criterion Games, Blackbox, Visceral Games, and Westwood. Again, other companies are doing it too, but not at the same rate as EA. Well, we'll see what happens to Codemasters after EA acquired it. By now, you know that working in EA is not the most pleasant experience, especially when a new title is about to be published. In the so-called crunch time, employees were sometimes forced to work up to 100 hours per week while not compensated for it. The situation was so bad that EA was sued by their game artists in 2004, before settling for $15.6 million. Soon after, programmers sued the company and were also compensated. Since then, conditions have gotten better, but a crunch time practice is still present. Unfortunately, the direct result of this are half-finished games. There's no doubt that online multiplayer games are incredibly popular and fun, but single-player experiences are still critical for many gamers. However, in 2010 EA shocked the world with its ignorance. That year the company presented its new business model expressing that single-player experiences are becoming obsolete. That was followed by an incredibly stupid narrative that only online games can offer innovation and action. Even though they were proved wrong numerous times, the company stood their ground. In 2017, they decided to close Visceral Games Studio, known for the excellent single-player Dead Space series. EA CEO Andrew Wilson pointed out that people do not care about single-player, but also suggested that he doesn't like them because they lack microtransaction. At least he was honest. Thankfully, single-player is still alive with tons of excellent non-EA games. As we suggested, EA loves microtransactions. Again, other companies are doing it too, and we're okay with it as long as the money doesn't provide an advantage in multiplayer. Of course, EA pushed the pay-to-win concept, enabling players to access upgrades that they could alternatively acquire only by playing for hundreds of hours. When even that wasn't enough, they decided to implement the ultimate evil, loot boxes. With loot boxes, the problem is that you have no idea about what you are paying for. Especially notorious is the FIFA series and its Ultimate Team, as the probability of getting one of the best players is extremely low. That all leads to the conclusion that loot boxes are nothing but gambling, even though they are sold to underage gamers, often being rated E for everyone. Some countries even forced EA to disable loot boxes, but the company is still heavily promoting them, earning hundreds of millions of dollars and raising a new generation of addicts. With the rise of blockchain games, we can only expect that EA will get some wrong ideas. While EA made a few right moves to change its business practices, they are never taking the initiative. All the changes mentioned on our top 5 list came only after lawsuits and public pressure. Still, we're not saying that you should boycott their games. Instead, be smart when choosing which titles you want to buy, and whenever you can, ignore any form of microtransaction.